Longtime fans of the show should be familiar with the lender formerly known as Sue Pullen, and I'm pleased to announce that she's back, fresh off a rebrand and ready to help as Sue Mackey. Sue is a certified mortgage advisor at Fairway Independent Mortgage, an equal housing lender who focuses on finding the right product for you and your needs. She has over 20 years of experience helping thousands of homeowners. Whether it's purchasing, refinancing, or even a reverse mortgage, Sue will help. Sue's licensed in 36 states now, so reach out and let Sue Mackey it happen for you. The best way to reach her is just give her a call at 520-977-7904 or in an email, spullen@fairwaymc.com. Fairway Independent Mortgage has an MLS number of 2289. Sue Mackey has an MLS number of 206048. That email again, spullen@fairwaymc.com, and that phone number is 520-977-7904. Shoot Sue an email and let her know she needs to update that address. Disclaimer time. This is where I tell everyone to lighten up. It's just a podcast. Trading is like that roller coaster at the amusement park. Thrilling, unpredictable, and potentially stomach-churning. What works for one person might leave another clutching their hat in the wind. Our hosts and guests, they're awesome, knowledgeable, full of insights, but we're not financial advisors. So don't rush to make any investment decisions based solely on our banter. Always consult with a professional or do your own research. Plus, let's face it, we like to have fun, laugh, enjoy the trading ride together. It's all in the name of good podcasting fun. So remember, take it easy, don't bet the farm, and keep your seatbelts on at all times. Thank you for listening. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new installment of the Humanity of Trading. I'm your host, Kyle, here with my co-host and series creator, Cleo. And today we've got special guest Sean Sawyer from soundperformancepsychology.com joining us. Cleo, you want to give Sean a bit of a heads up for what he's in for today?
Yeah. So first, we'll just jump right in. So it's really good to meet you, Sean.
It's good to meet you too.
And I just re-listened to the episode that you recorded with Kyle that was published on July 25th, and it was called "No One Comes to See You Because Things Are Great."
That's such a
And
good title.
highly recommend that episode for people to go back and listen because it's really phenomenal.
Thank you.
And we talk a lot about, or you talk a lot about your frameworks, EMDR, various things about your therapy support or coaching support. And it had me really wanting to talk to you as a trader too, because you are a full-time trader, right?
Yeah. I mean, the business has grown, so I trade less than I used to, but I'm still, at the market every day. Whether or not I trade it is one thing, but
same.
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Just because you're not pushing the buttons doesn't make you not, doesn't mean you're not a trader.
Right.
So I'm excited to talk to you. First, I have questions for you as a therapist. I have questions for you as a trader. And I have a psychological background. Like most of my friends are therapists and coaches.
Sorry to hear
And
that.
I can geek out. No, they're the best. They're the best. And to come across a therapist, especially one who with so much experience, like you were a therapist for 15 years, I believe, and now you're coaching. 20 years, and also a trader. I'm like, wow, you're my kind of weirdo, right? Like there aren't that many people out there doing this kind of thing, combining them, and I'm into it.
5 or 6 of us on Earth.
Yeah. We spoke to Andrew a while ago, and he coaches also. But yeah, I'm excited to connect with you. So we're going to talk with you about all these things.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that then, Sean, do you want to just real quick kind of give people an idea of where they can go to learn more about what you do, what you have to offer?
Yeah, thank you. You can go to soundperformancepsychology.com, and on there you will see my website, or our website. I have a partner, Nia. She works with executives and athletes. I work with traders, musicians, and execs. Classical musicians generally.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go there. You can go to my Twitter is Sean Sound Psych at Sean Sound Psych, and then there's the main business Twitter at Sound Perf Psych Performance.
I love those Twitter handles, right?
There's only so much you can do with those. I know. Especially when you've made your business title too long. So.
I was at Financial Inept 1 right now. I gotta get that switched over to something that's more in line with what the actual podcast is called now.
I was doing
Yeah,
when I was
saw
trying to
that one
figure out
time.
a Twitter handle. I was thinking like human trading, human trader. No, that's not okay. Got to have humanity in there, or just H.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
Human
whole other
traders kind of.
business.
It
Yeah,
sounds like
not it.
a bot for sure. Hello, human trader. All right, Cleo, you want to kick us off then? It sounds like you got quite a list of questions.
I do. Yeah. So maybe we start with you as a trader. So I'm curious, like, what your trading looks like. You just said a little bit of it, but what do you trade What do you trade, and how do you trade it?
So I trade futures and I trade options, but I don't trade options like less than a month dated.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer swing trading. I think scalping is very difficult on your mental health. I think very few people are built for it. And I think you have to have a very high standard of your mental state to engage in scalping properly. And I don't always meet that criteria by my own criteria, so I don't do it as much as I used to. But the options trading is, my style is nothing fancy. It's your basic daily 195-minute moving averages, and I look for money flow, put writing, especially, big cash flow, like things like we saw in Nvidia this year. I mean, there were so many signs that was going to happen. It was ridiculous. I mean, they were buying tens of millions in the highest furthest dated strike on the chain.
Right.
So, anyways, looking for stuff like that in that realm. And in futures trading, I like market, or whatever it is, auction theory, market structure theory. Mostly trade reverting to the mean, I would say. I like trading short. I think that's because I'm better at finding problems. So if I see a problem in the chart, I think I just have more conviction to go short. I've been practicing going long a lot more, and kind of screwing around with those and on some props, getting some demons out of my system on props. It's one of the things I like to use props for, is to do ridiculous shit to get it out of my system.
Ooh, make a note of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a wise thing to do, but it helps me a fair amount to have some skin in the game and try different stuff. Or, when I have those urges or have FOMO, to go in there and screw around with one of those, because sometimes it works, sometimes most of the time it doesn't, but it doesn't cost me much money.
Yeah. I've actually found myself doing that a lot more too, because Sim just doesn't have quite the same.
No, it doesn't.
Appeal.
Yeah, I got the idea from a client who did that, and I was like, that's interesting. And then recently this year, a client of mine was doing really well and was on one of the props and shouted me out. So I got back into them this year a little bit. And
you've actually been on Top Step TV a couple times too.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. That has helped shake out some demons. I find that pretty useful.
Yeah,
because I definitely get urges to do all the shit we're not supposed to do.
There's at least 3 things that I made notes on from that little statement there. Let's go to the first one then. Short preference. You said.
Yeah.
I've talked to some other people, and it's interesting to hear some people describe themselves as short sides or long side. Like, what kind of goes into the mentality, do you think, of like determining whether you're more suited for being a shorter or being long?
Probably the same reason that I grew up loving Public Enemy. Like, fuck the man.
Yeah, right? Fuck the man. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Fuck Apple and their disgusting practices to human beings in China. And I love to make money on them losing money. I think that kind of stuff.
So it's almost like a sense of justice.
I think it's where it came from originally. Now the reality is, I mean, if you're in this business, you're whatever.
You kind of have to be morally agnostic. Yeah.
I don't think the business is morally agnostic. I think that's pretty tricky. That's a big question, actually. But
oh my God, I love that you're saying this. I don't hear many people talking about it, and I really appreciate that.
Well, they asked me about it on Top Step. They asked me about how I felt about making money off of, I think it was the recent missile attack, Hezbollah at Iran. And I was just like, what's the difference between that and everyday trading? I mean, you make money on that, or you make money on some company that's ruining people's lives or ruining the planet or whatever, taking shitloads of corporate welfare, not paying their taxes. Like what's the difference?
Do you have any like cognitive dissonance around that? Like, do you struggle on some level about that?
It is why sound performance psychology still exists, because I almost closed it a few years back because I was like, I'm just going to trade. I had a lull in business. I had shrunk my private practice quite a bit, my traditional private practice, and I found that just trading was sort of, I don't know how to say this without sounding really fucking corny, but it left me feel a little bit empty. It just isn't. It's very superficial.
It's lonely.
It's lonely, and I sort of was like, if I'm just a trader and I'm just about charts and making money, like there's going to be a lotto winner, like death. That's how I'm going to die, like a lotto winner, like some fucked up thing. Like they always do. You know about the lotto winners?
Some percentage they go bankrupt and they kill themselves and their sister or something.
Bankruptcy, weird sex stuff. I mean, they're just weird. Weird shit happens when you have money and no structure or no accountability or no purpose. And I found that I pretty quickly started to lose a sense of purpose. And I was like, all right, I got to do this. I knew I wasn't going to close my private practice. Like there's a couple people that I've worked with forever that have severe mental illnesses. They're going to, I'll work with them forever because at this point it's just management. So I was always going to keep them, but I found that it wasn't enough. And I have found a lot of humanity in trading, working with traders more and more. And now that the business is expanding and I have a lot of people I work with one-on-one, the humanity's back and the human side of it and how your life and life history impacts your trading and the toll it takes on your life now and whether or not you're paying attention to it or even leveraging it in your favor is a huge part of it for retail traders. I think that a lot of trading psychology is coming from the world of professional trading and it's lacking a lot.
How do you mean? Like what?
Well, a lot of the big names, which I have learned a lot from and respect, but they're working with institutions. They're working with hedge fund managers. That's not a retail trader. That's not someone whose baby's crying in the other room.
Right.
That's not someone whose wife is pissed off with them in the other room because they're losing money trading and they're sitting there trading, trying to make money with their pissed off wife 6 feet away. It's a different experience. It's, they're not constantly being fed hope. Professionals manage it. Risk is managed, period. It just is. I work with pros. I work with retired hedge fund manager. I work with guys like that. You don't manage risk. Risk is managed when you're a pro. Like it's taken care of. There's guys watching what you do. You're not allowed to do. It's done. And we don't have that. It's a massive disadvantage. And on top of all the speeds of our orders and the data we have access to and the price of it and all that stuff. I mean, it's a major disadvantage. So for me,
is that part of what the coaching provides? Is like almost like a form of accountability or someone to help take some of that burden?
I think that is part of it. But the thing that I do to help people build in accountability and build proper risk management is by highlighting their values and why they trade and whether or not they're serving their values as they're trading.
And then what you just mentioned with the way most corporations are making their money off of exploiting somebody.
Yeah.
That it can be really hard to rectify or reconcile those values or that gap.
Yeah. So that is why you make sure you're serving your family, your kids, your church, or whatever you're into. Like whatever matters to you is what you're doing serving that. Is it helping you move towards or away from those values? And that becomes your risk management because it becomes ego dystonic. It'll start to bother you when you trade like an asshole because you're screwing over your kid's college fund and you're conscious of that. And it's there I call it psychological higher time frames. Scalper. I know a lot of people are scalpers and stuff because of props and all that. So you're scalping. You still need to know what's going on a daily chart, right? You still need to know the 195, 8 hour, whatever you're into. And those higher time frames dictate some of your behavior. So why not psychological higher time frames? Why exit because of a technical reason that may or may not happen when you have a bunch of money green that serves your family, that serves your values, that gives you a win? Exit because of that. Fuck the technicals. Enter because of technicals. But considering all the I was green and gave it back, or what do I do about these days where I'm I overtraded and I was up $2,000 and I was, ended the day down 3. Well, it's be accountable to yourself, your family, the people you love, the system that you're a part of. And that'll start to change your behavior, assuming you are willing to be conscious of it. and are willing to do the work to slow down that response time between, your amygdala beating out your frontal cortex and affecting your decision making. And you do that in another systematic way by having a trading psychology plan and executing that plan consistently. And it's going to start to work in your favor. It's not always going to work. I mean, we're always going to be impulsive. I did a FOMO trade last week. The hell did I do? I chased something because of a trade I didn't take.
Was it Thursday?
I don't remember what day it was.
Because I think I had an experience chasing on Thursday, and I ended up having to. I had a moment where I shut it down just because I was looking at it. I was like, I'm not feeling it today. I haven't hurt anything too bad. If I stop now, I can still.
Oh, I know what I did.
Save the week.
Yeah. I remember having FOMO earlier in the week, and then later I took the day the Tesla announcement. That was hilarious and impressive in some ways, but mostly hilarious. I took a Tesla long and an Uber long. Uber was the hedge, and Uber did great. Tesla did terrible. I was long on both, which is very unusual. I normally shorting Tesla is one of my favorite things in the world in terms of trading.
Can I jump in for a minute? There's something so interesting being with you, Sean. You have this, let me know if this lands for you or not, but you have this combination of like kind of cynicism about the market as well as humor and knowing that they're there. It's like, what really matters here, you guys? Like it's like you've been in a windstorm or like, okay, I'm over this crap. And I know where the way is here and what actually matters. And there's something refreshing. I'm curious if that tracks for you, and it's refreshing being with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it does. I think what people focus on in trading is fucking crazy. I'm just like, what are you guys talking? Like, go on FinTwit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why do you care what so-and-so, what Stinkmaster 420 thinks of anything? Is beyond me. And their take on psychology, this is my pet peeve, their take on psychology because they think they're a fucking therapist because they read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations or some bullshit. They read 3 self-help books in their fucking life, and now they're out there prescribing behavioral interventions, which is just a personal pet peeve of mine. But more importantly, I think a lot of times what people focus on is kind of silly. Maybe my cynicism is coming through more than usual because of I mentioned earlier what happened this week. There's some frustrations this week in my regular life, but that's being factored into my trading. Like, I didn't trade today because my dad broke his back last week, and it's fucking stressful.
Oh God, he's okay.
Hopefully will be okay, but helping him out of bed this morning screaming is not dictate great trading. So I measured that against my system and something I call a feel scale, and I decided it was not wise to trade. That said, I have longs open. I have long dated calls open, and that also scratches the itch for trading because I'll never deny that, I have addictive trading behaviors. I think you're kidding yourself if you think you don't.
Yeah. If you're a trader and you think you don't have it.
I mean, it's fucking crazy. Yeah. That's the kind of thing I mean. It's just like, what are you talking? Of course you got to do. Of course this is, what are we doing?
Specifically notice the feeling of ease that comes when I enter a position. Like the tension and turmoil melts away. Like, that's an issue. Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Another one of those stops.
Everything's okay once you take that trade. Life makes sense again.
Yeah.
There was amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
There's something else you mentioned in the beginning there about picking up some tips and habits or ideas or practices from your clients. How often does that happen, that you get ideas from them and things that improve your trading?
Tons. I am the luckiest guy. I have the greatest job. I love my job. Sorry for the water pouring if you can hear that. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Hello, Mrs. Kyle, when you're going to edit this. Sorry about that. I know she your wife edits, right?
Yeah, she helps. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
We like keeping it real. We'll probably keep that water in there.
How often are you getting
ideas?
Yeah.
Tons. I mean, whether it's the one I mentioned, the guy who exercised the demons on props, He's someone I haven't worked with him like coaching. Well, it's not true. He's in the group, but it's ideas like that. Sometimes it's literally trading ideas. I mean, look, I'm lucky enough now to work with a couple guys who one of them's been trading almost as long as I've been alive, and another's probably been trading 30 years. I mean, so a general conversation with them, I'm learning stuff about trading or the
Yeah, they know
business or
some
the
things.
market that just gives you some perspective or has made me realize some things. I mean, that's amazing. And then just because I'm constantly poring over this stuff, it's always in my head. And I have the online community, and I have I have like a random bot in there that pings 5 times a day when the market's open, and that ping is to remind you to do what I call the 4 steps or the sound psych process. And so like I'm just immersed in it, whether it's talking to my clients about what they're doing wrong or what they're doing well, building on strengths, dealing with weaknesses, doing the group coaching. Like I'll do, and actually, no, I'm not doing that tonight because of Monday Night Football, but I'll do that tomorrow night now that I think about it. And then again, we do a Q&A once a week. So I'll do that. So like, it's just this immersion in it, and it's definitely made my trading better. It's made me more conservative of a trader.
Yeah. Anytime you're putting yourself out there, I think that makes you think a little bit more about whether or not you want to eat shit in camera.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll regret some of the shit I said today, but like, it's also,
I hope not.
It's also just honest. I mean, I think there's a lot of room to grow in trading psychology for the retail side. It's born too much of pros and professional trading. It's not the same thing, period. It really isn't.
What kinds of things have gotten kicked up for you, like blocks or things that you've even needed support around? I heard you say in the last episode that you have a therapist or you go get support. And what are the kinds of things that you've worked with that have been blocks?
The biggest problem for me with trading ever was when my best friend died the summer before the pandemic, and I started trading like a crackhead.
Were you trading before that?
Yeah, I started trading in like 17 full time. So I had been in it for a couple years, and I think that was not long before or long after I got into options, because I know I got myself into some trouble trading short dated options. But the reality was losing a bunch of money. I mean, I lost so much money that week before I realized what I was doing, or maybe it was even 2 weeks. But like at some point I realized, losing 10, 15 grand feels better than thinking about him being dead.
Yeah.
And it felt better than missing him. And it felt better than thinking about, that I'm never going to see him again and that kind of shit. And just like the way he died was really shitty. And like a mistake, an error on someone's part. So like it was a lot to accept. It was a lot to manage. And then that's when I realized, I was just like, what am I doing? Why aren't I using my abilities? Because one of the reasons I liked trading was it was so different from therapy. And I liked being just doing something massively different from what I did. I liked no accountability to other humans, not worrying about someone decompensating and going to the hospital. Not that I always worked with people that severe, but there's always a risk of that. And frankly, the higher functioning clients you work with, there's sometimes that's the much bigger risk, because their defense mechanisms are so much more elegant and hard to see.
Like suicide.
Yeah. So that was a big one. That was the biggest one, hands down. I mean, I just about a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, I found out that another friend of mine I went to high school with died. And it's a friend of mine's brother who I had lost touch with for a little while. We got back in touch and he was like, yeah, he's dead. So that was another one where I was like, all right, I'm going to take a little time here. Like that person I wasn't particularly close with, but it was pretty tragic.
It's always a shock. I mean, I lost a friend from high school, and a guy that I used to hang out with like every day after school from like age 16 to, my junior, senior year of high school, and found out, I mean, this might be like 5-10 years ago, but he just died on the couch one night. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is Yeah, it's fucked up.
And it seems like, so I'm curious, like, it seems, yeah, so trading comes in for you, or it has as like a coping mechanism. Did it the second time after your second friend died? Did it also come in,
No,
or you?
no, but it's a tough one to measure because I bring it up because death came up, but I just made sure I didn't trade that day. I just made sure
Yeah.
I thought about him. I made sure that, I wasn't avoiding much.
How did you pull yourself out of, I mean, it sounds like such an intense thing when your close friend died and you lost a bunch of money maybe over a couple weeks. Like, how did you stop? Like, how did you work with that? What happened?
I started acting like an asshole in a Discord I was in for a while.
Oh, no.
Okay. That's one thing. Okay.
Taking out. I'm not saying it's healthy.
Yeah.
You asked me. I'm giving you a real
I'm
answer.
into it. Let's go.
I was completely letting misdirected anger at my friend, at the fucker who killed him. It wasn't like a murder, but all that stuff.
Right.
I just let it get taken out on the system I was in, because at that point, when it really hit me, I think by the time it did, and I was doing that shit, it was like around the pandemic time. I had, and on top of that, so I live up in Western New York.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I lived about 4 hours from Toronto. Okay, I don't know people how their geography is, but Toronto and New York are pretty close.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend lived in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So I fucking lost the relationship because you can't go to Canada once the goddamn pandemic started.
Oh no.
So like I lost him. Then like this 2-year relationship I'm in is like, what do we do? I can't see you. We could talk. I mean, it was like 18 months before they opened the border again. We were broken up by the time the
Right.
border reopened. So this is way too fucking
series
personal.
of big losses.
Jesus Christ. I don't know how much I'm thrilled about sharing. Anyways, I didn't realize this was going to get so. But so the point is, I'm making a bunch of excuses. I was out of control. It was just messing with me. And I was participating in a research study. So I was interviewing all these ER nurses that were in the front line of the pandemic. And for the ER nurse, oh God, that wasn't even ER. It was ICU. So I was doing a research study, or helping them with a research study. And so I'm interviewing all these people that are like seeing the worst of the pandemic, like the actual scary shit, like the stuff that was in hindsight was, now that we know, is a little overblown, but like people really did die horrible deaths and consistently. And like when you heard I don't know if people know, but like the details of what happens when you're on a vent and when you get rolled over, when you're out, the stuff that goes on was horrific.
Yeah.
So all of that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, I acted out. I was irritable. And then I got back to my roots. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Was there a catalyst or something that kind of kicked you into gear? Or was there a specific moment you can point to?
Yes. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just debating. I mean,
Respect the privacy into it.
Yeah, you don't have to. If it's too much, you don't have to.
Longtime fans of the show should be familiar with the lender formerly known as Sue Pullen, and I'm pleased to announce that she's back, fresh off a rebrand and ready to help as Sue Mackey. Sue is a certified mortgage advisor at Fairway Independent Mortgage, an equal housing lender who focuses on finding the right product for you and your needs. She has over 20 years of experience helping thousands of homeowners. Whether it's purchasing, refinancing, or even a reverse mortgage, Sue will help. Sue's licensed in 36 states now, so reach out and let Sue Mackey it happen for you. The best way to reach her is just give her a call at 520-977-7904 or in an email, spullen@fairwaymc.com. Fairway Independent Mortgage has an MLS number of 2289. Sue Mackey has an MLS number of 206048. That email again, spullen@fairwaymc.com, and that phone number is 520-977-7904. Shoot Sue an email and let her know she needs to update that address.
No, I mean, I already alluded to it. It was when I got it was when I used my powers for evil instead of good, put it that way.
Yeah.
Be my therapist a bit. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, get your shit together, Sean. You're too old for this.
I mean, we look back on it and probably you're disappointed in the way you acted probably throughout that period. But man, hats off to you because a lot of people don't pull themselves out of that. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And certainly wouldn't admit it.
That too.
Like, I don't even know how I got on that part. But anyways, I woke up to that and I was like, what am I doing? And that's actually where sound, at the time it was sound trading psychology, started. I was like, all right, I'm going to apply this and I'm going to pull all the stuff from what I've been doing most of my career, the most evidence-based we've got, the most universal, because I really wanted to run classes and groups initially more than anything. And put this model together, see how it goes. The model is way different than it was a few years ago. It's a lot more in depth now and covers stuff I didn't realize I needed to cover. But that was all born of that, and that was part of the coping.
So one of the things you mentioned was the 4 steps that you guys do every morning when the morning bell goes off. Can you kind of walk us through what that exercise is? Because it sounds like that actually helped you the second time you had to deal with a similar situation that maybe kept you from reverting to those old habits.
Yeah. So it's once before the bell and then 5 times intraday. And the 5 times intraday, RTH, is at random because intermittent reinforcement is the strongest behavioral reinforcer by a mile. You do not want to do stuff on a schedule. You'll just habituate and forget about it.
Interesting.
So that's a waste of time. So I have that built into the online.
I was gonna say, how do you get yourself a random timer? Because that's
have a coder build it for Discord.
There you go. Okay.
And people who are into it invite to the Discord and let them use it.
Yeah.
We did a 9-month beta test on that, and I just opened it up publicly a couple months ago. Although I think I've only marketed it once or twice, but I'll get around to it. I'm terrible at social media.
Is your Discord open to anybody, or is that for clients only?
No, it's open to whoever.
Great.
Do me a favor, send me a link to your. I'll make sure I post that in the episode too.
Sure.
And what are the things that you're checking on 5 times a day?
So the 4 steps, yes. So the 5 times a day it's a reminder to do the 4 steps. So the 4 steps consist of reflecting on your trading values. So there's some things that you have to do before you do the 4 steps, which is understand your values, which is just like what's existentially meaningful to you. So the 4 steps are you set, your priorities for that day. What values are you going to do you want to serve while you're trading? You remind yourself of that. So it can
you give us
family, friends, like just typical stuff.
What are yours? This is my question. Like, what are your values? Like, what's your process through this? How about that?
Yeah, let me run through it just generic first. So you think about your values, you prioritize them for the day, you state them out loud every time the alarm goes off. 2, you assess your feels score, which is a psychological scale that runs from -5 to +5, because feeling good or too good is just as dangerous as feeling bad.
Feeling devastated, yeah.
Overconfidence leads to problems too.
Exactly. Euphoria is so slept on. Euphoria and shame are like the most slept on things in trading psychology. I cannot believe it's not addressed more. Euphoria is to some degree, but
slept on, you said?
Yeah, ignored. Shame, guilt. Shame drives so much behavior. It's the biggest. It's the second biggest motivator of human behavior aside from fear.
Oh, well, fuck the 4 steps. Tell me more about that. I'm just kidding. I do want to go back to that.
And I'm still interested in your 4 steps.
So that's the second one. And then so that one, based on if you're inside the 3s or outside the 3s. So if you're from -3 to a +3, you practice mindfulness for step 3. If you're outside of those 3s, you practice grounding for step 3. I have specific techniques that are kind of designed for traders, but the generic stuff that if you Google grounding, Google mindfulness, you can use that stuff for sure. It'll be effective. And then step 4, some might say I'm slipping like 8 steps into 1 step, but I always tell people, like, Buddhism's got the Four Noble Truths, and the fourth truth is the Eightfold Noble Path. So it's really the eight
Right.
steps. So
Yeah.
deal with it. But the fourth step is sort of, it's the result of what you learn in the workshop, what you learn through doing the four steps, and that is, you learn how to have an observer inside that, that can watch what you're doing. Being mindful is building an observer. It's watching your thoughts. It's watching your feelings. It's thinking about your thinking. It's thinking about your emotions. It's thinking about your behavior. It's all those things. So the result of that is what we call the observer, the adult observer. Actually, we called it something else because that sounded kind of funny. The observing adult. We just changed that name, but just the observing. We'll go with the observing self. Sorry for the.
Yeah.
And through that, you ask yourself, what's my bias today? What's my current bias? What's the trend? Am I fighting it? Are there external things going on in my life that are impacting decision making or impacting my trading? And I have a perspective map that people can look at as part of step one in deciding as part of step two in deciding what their feel score is. So the perspective map gives micro, meso, and macro psychological factors to consider, and make sure you're thinking about them, because it's easy to not think on all three levels. And it's easy to lose sight of those bigger things, especially when something like, I don't know, a death happens and you want to ignore it.
Right.
So it's a way to be accountable, and asking yourself, am I willing to risk my capital based on this assessment? Are there any themes in my self-talk today, positive or negative? And do these themes connect back to schemas, which you learn about your schemas if you do the workshop too? So that's the generic answer.
That's great.
The answer for me, usually the values I'm serving are family. There's some specific goals within that category of values regarding family I'd like to achieve. Career is always something on my mind. So that might mean, am I trading in the best interest of myself? And like, if I trade like an idiot and then go and work with clients that night, it doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it because I'm like, fuck, I had a bad day. Like, it's just like, I don't want to do this. So I try to minimize things based on that, because I know I'm not going to be as effective as a therapist, as a coach, if I've had a bad day. So that's part of that.
Being cognizant of the potential consequences of a bad decision sounds like kind of the key there.
That's it.
And maybe hypocrisy or something might get kicked up.
Yeah, totally. And you can only do that by slowing things down.
How specific are you getting with your value systems? You mentioned family, and I assume that there's more than just family.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so family's one. The career is a value that am I serving my career, my job, the best I can today? If I'm trading like an idiot, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm trading on what I call UTBs, unprofessional trading behaviors. If I'm doing any of those,
I like that.
It's not very good.
We love acronyms in trading.
Social values, like, am I going to take a break and go have lunch with a friend, which is something I like to do a lot? Am I, putting myself in a position to have more choices and options regarding seeing people in the future, traveling, being able to go see friends live around the country? Like, those are all really important things to me. And I think about those when I'm scalping, because if I don't, I'll scalp like an idiot.
Yeah.
I'll scalp more high risk. That is the internal risk manager.
One thing that I love about this is it seems like it's adding pressure to you as a person.
In some regard it is, yeah.
Rather than, like, I know that people try to remove pressure to be able to perform, because pressure makes people weird in all sorts of ways. But there's like an added pressure, but the pressure that you're adding is values alignment, which is interesting. It's like a different angle. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
So, okay, for example, I'm currently trading 1 or 2 MNQ, and at some point I'm going to go higher than that, and that's an added pressure. Or if I stop working the work that I'm doing and then I'm just going to transition into full-time trading, it adds pressure to perform in a certain way. But that added pressure isn't necessarily helpful to me. Yeah. Whereas the added pressure that you're talking about is like a deeper values alignment pressure.
It is. And the goal of it is to create ego-syntonic and ego-dystonic thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
Can you explain that? Because those are big words.
Ego, it's just, am I happy with what I'm doing, or am I not happy with what I'm doing? So that added pressure thing, you're right. because if you're going against what's important to you, it should bother you.
Yeah.
But trading is so intoxicating, dopamine, all that stuff people talk about, that it anesthetizes that stuff. So I'm
Right.
jamming it back in your face. No. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about your kid's college fund as you piss away money taking 0 DTEs, you fucking clown.
Yeah. Accountability. More back on that
That's
accountability.
just me talking to myself. I'm not, I'm not out there calling my clients clowns and shit. And I don't, but I also do, I also don't get many clients that do stuff like that, but because those guys don't get help with trading psychology.
Well, one of the things you mentioned was your patterns in your self-talk. Is that something that stands out to you? Is that what your negative self-talk kind of sounds like?
No, mine sounds a little different, and I'm very like when it kicks in, when it says when it plays that tape, it usually says that's when I kick into mindful interventions, just kind of noticing thoughts, reminding myself that thoughts aren't facts. Use cognitive diffusion techniques.
It's interesting that, like, because I know Baba talks a lot about like having a awareness of certain thoughts that precede bad decisions. For him, it's who's buying right now. Whenever he thinks a thought like that, get the fuck away.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it.
I think mine is, what am I doing right now? If I ever hear myself thinking that, then I know that I'm doing something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. You can't bullshit yourself in trading. You can bullshit yourself a lot in life, and you can do halfway decent, but you can't in trading. You'll lose your ass.
When you do, you feel it. You feel it too.
Well, you get the instant feedback.
Yeah,
because you're losing money.
That might be a good title for this episode. You can't bullshit yourself in trading.
Yeah, I think that
It's
is
good.
Well, I think that's what people are doing. I mean, hope. They say the oldest profession in the world is prostitution. I think it's hope sales.
Right.
I don't think it's prostitution. They've been selling hope as long as they've been selling.
The snake oil salesman's been doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what snake oil salesmen are. They are hope salesmen. That's what furus are. They are hope salesmen.
Yeah. I don't know how many people I've turned down who wanted to come on this program. When I take a look at their website and I see that they're just selling packaged dreams, then I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's a real problem. And a lot of people are getting by on hope, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous for your mental health. In this case, it's dangerous financially, which then is going to affect your mental health.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
What are some things that people should look for when trying to find someone, if they wanted to find someone to work with? Like, what are some red flags that you tell people to stay away from, or what are some qualifications that they should look for?
Interesting.
Like, keep it positive.
In what?
Like, if somebody was checking you out or checking out some of your competitors, what are some of the things that they should pay attention to pick a
for
good
a trading coach?
I mean, are they an actual professional?
Mm-hmm.
I can only comment on trading psychology.
That's fine.
I mean, if you're getting lessons from Stinkmaster 420, like whatever, you're doomed. Until you hit rock bottom or something.
Dr. Stinkmaster 4000. Oh,
yeah, exactly. But no, I think if you're looking to work with like a trading psychology person, make sure they have the background they've got, and you'll be able to tell by talking to them pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Look at their interviews, look what they've done podcast wise, listen to what they've got to say. You'll know if they're a pro or not. But that's
are they selling hope, or are they cursing? Go with the guy who curses.
Right.
That's probably the biggest one. That's in the beginning of the conversation when I said there's like 6 of us on the planet. Like there aren't that many professionals that are doing trading psychology.
Rich Friesen's the only other one that I know of that's like licensed.
Yeah, Friesen. I mean, Brett Steenbarger, the granddaddy. He's obviously legit. He's a psychologist. And what you got to do is listen to him talk, and he knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's the man. Denise Scholl. She's. I don't know.
I know that name. Did she do this Scholl? Isn't that like a metric or like model?
The Scholl method, I think, is what she calls her trading psychology stuff.
Okay.
But she's, I think they based Wendy Rhodes on her on that show Billions. Like that was the model for Wendy Rhodes. Okay. She's awesome. Like that's one of the few trading psych books I think is really good. Which
book is that?
Mind Market Games.
That's a question on my list here.
I know, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't trading psychology.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
There are other books that give perspective on life and trading.
No, but they are better. They are books that help with self-awareness and relating to yourself, and that's going to help with your trading more than anything.
Okay. What do you have a couple of those?
Yeah. I would recommend Reinventing Your Life by Jeff Young. I would recommend The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris. I would recommend been a long time since I recommended self-help. Well, I would recommend reading John Kabat-Zinn or going to John Kabat-Zinn's website to practice and learn mindfulness.
Okay.
There's an amazing app called healthyminds.org that is a great source to learn mindfulness.
Awesome. I mean, those are great.
Yeah, I would start with those. And Denise Shell's book is good. I've never, Brett Steenbarger's stuff is good. I've been told, I haven't read his stuff yet, but I was told by Mark Douglas's wife that I reminded her of Van Thorpe. So I got to check out his stuff. Oh, Andrew Menaker.
Okay.
Andrew Menaker's awesome. He's definitely working in the world. I think he's probably like on, he's probably on like Goldman's payroll. Like he works for big deal places. But when I read his stuff, I was kind of like, damn, I didn't come up with this. I wasn't the first one to talk about like the nervous system as much, because he talks about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. One thing that I find very fascinating is like you're pointing out books that are better for improving your life, but they're going to affect your trading.
Yeah.
Kind of the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times I think we've talked about, we've taken on trading as like a career and a challenge to try to get better at, but then we find that we've got a lot of work to do on ourselves. It's not necessarily our market knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think trading, it kind of exposes that in a way that other fields maybe don't necessarily as much. Maybe things like high performance sports and high performance executives and that kind of stuff. Maybe you might kind of see some similar overlaps like that.
Very limited, to be honest. The execs maybe, because they're involved in commerce, but sports and commerce are massively different. I think that those analogies are overblown. Golf maybe, because golf can fall apart so quickly.
Yeah, that's a lot more of a mental game.
Way more psychological.
Yeah.
And look at Jared Tendler. I mean, he's a golfer. He got into this business. Or he was a aspiring pro or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think those ones hold up, but generally speaking, I don't think those hold up that well, because this is commerce. This is an auction. This is buying apples for cheap and trying to sell them for more.
Right. It's different.
Period. It is not a sport.
What about the reverse of how has trading influenced or changed you as a person, if any way?
It's maybe more conservative, probably.
In general?
Yeah, I would say so.
Politically too?
I was going to
ask. Politically,
I would say the opposite of that for me.
I know from what we're hearing also from Sean, I would imagine not.
I mean, I know it's probably maybe more conservative politically, but my political beliefs have never really fit into many categories. I mean, I think that the bottom line is I think both sides are playing the peasants and get them to argue and they win.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer. I think it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican. No one's got your interest in mind. Like, give me a break.
Right.
Especially
the only thing you can hope for is your interests aligned with theirs.
Yeah. So I think that's changed. I think that I'm much more conscious of things like sleep and my health suffered during the pandemic, and I realize how much that's affecting my trading. I am much more in tune with myself. Yeah, definitely don't suffer fools. Passive aggression, call it out. That's what I was just doing.
Is that is that just something that comes with age and experience, you think? Just had enough?
Yeah, and I just really, it's just, yeah, there's no need to suffer fools anymore. Like, why would I put up with
I
it?
think that's one thing that we learned through trading is cutting out so many negatives in your life that maybe that's some of the spillover of that.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna tolerate
Yeah.
like your bullshit if it's not helping, it's not doing anybody any good.
Right.
So it's changed me in that regard.
There's a clarity. It's made you like clear.
Yes, but that was after a lot of fucking clouds. Like
Right.
Yeah.
when my friend died, and it's such a hard thing because his death, I mean, it affects me to this day tremendously. I mean, he was my closest friend since we were ninth grade or eighth grade or something, and like spent a ton of time together, and like, you know, probably would have until we got older, and it affected a lot of decisions I made in my life. And now that he's gone, it's re-affected. It's made another effect. So, anyways, the answer to how trading has changed my life, like that's going to taint this answer. But I think the other way it's changed it a lot is I saw the effects of poor self-care and how dangerous it is in trading, because like I was, you know, when he died, it's like I was not sleeping enough. I was, you know, indulging in intoxicants too much. I was trading, and those intoxicants, one of them is trading. You know, I was just like, I was like, you know, that I can't wait to get up and trade. Oh, it's Friday. I can't wait till Monday. Like, it's the dumb shit. People are like posting those Pablo Escobar gifs, like, oh, waiting until Monday. Like, what's your fucking problem? Get a life, dude. Serve your values outside of trading. You'll be a better trader. Have a great fucking weekend and not think about trading, and you'll kick way more ass next week in trading than you will if you fucking miss it, you goddamn crackhead. I'm just kidding. I'm in part just entertaining you
You're
guys.
Just very clear.
You're playing on this right now, but you know, I don't. It's not like I'm screaming that shit at my clients. It's just, just, you know, I see that. But the point is, that's what I mean by the suffer fools. Like, there's so much nonsense in trading. You cannot get caught up in it. It will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Sean,
it's so hard to begin with. You don't need clowns involved. Go ahead. Sorry.
that's right. One of the things that Cleo had on her notes here.
I'm gonna get hated on for this.
No, you won't. You won't. One of the things Cleo was asking was how it works, like when in your sessions, like what it looks like when you're working with clients. And I know we had been talking about doing another follow up with you, more of like a roundtable type.
If you're willing, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
we would love
sure,
that.
sure.
I'd like to propose each of us coming with like a specific issue and then getting to spend some time you showing like how you would help that person work with whatever that specific issue
That's
is.
a lot of pressure. No, I would. That's cool. I would do that.
You can do it ahead of time. It would be Kyle, Yumi, and Bear, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
And since he said it publicly, he's in the Discord I'm in. So I do.
He
so
is.
I've gotten to know him a tiny bit. So yeah, that would be cool. I would definitely do that. But
okay,
you know, it's to briefly answer your question. It's funny because a fair amount of it turns into regular therapy.
Really?
It's just the context involves trading. Yeah, because they're, you know, it turns out, you know, it's anxiety that they've got their whole life, and they didn't know it was anxiety because they didn't know what anxiety was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's a different dynamic working with traders for sure than it was my general mental health clients. And, you know, so it's like we might be helping your trading by processing some memory of, you know, failure when you were a kid, or failure when you were a teen, or getting bullied, or getting picked on, or getting rejected by a girl. Who knows? I mean, trading, there's so much that's reflected in trading.
Yeah.
You know,
the traumas that we hold.
Rich talks about like doing some work with clients and then like seeing them almost physically become like the 5-year-old self again when they're reliving some of those moments. I've felt that.
Go on Twitter. You'll see people having 5-year-old tantrums right now.
I know. I felt that exact like that feeling of like, oh, I'm 5 now. All of a sudden, just sitting like when
1000%.
something stressful happened. It's crazy. But if you're not open and aware and like thinking about it in that context, you'll never notice it.
Yeah. I you gotta be even if it affects your behavior, you got to acknowledge it. And my 3:30 just texted me. He's gonna be 10 minutes late, so we got 10 more minutes.
Oh, that's right. You're East Coast time. Sorry.
Yeah, East Coast.
Yeah. Okay.
Shit, lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
How do sessions work?
Oh, the sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, sessions, well, I don't know how you guys are going to edit this. Sorry. So sessions a lot of time look like regular therapy
Right.
because life issues get in the way, especially when I'm doing EMDR. Like EMDR is reprocessing problematic memories. So they might be childhood traumas. They might be professional failures. They might be rejections by girls or boys or whatever.
Yep.
They could be a lot of things, but they can also be that trade. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done EMDR on like 6-figure losses, in trading, or EMDR on like their worst day trading, their worst experience, because that shit haunts people. It is trauma. Money is safety.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, this is the modern world. You can't sugarcoat it. Does not matter if you're bigger, stronger, or faster. It matters if you have money.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you live. That's how you survive. Period. Better access to healthcare, better healthcare, better food, all those things that money affords you, the choices and options. So
Friends, better opportunities, everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fucking shitty note to end this on.
Yeah, let's not end it. We'll not end it there.
It's sort of on brand in a way. Like,
I know, right? Cleo, quick.
Yeah. It's gonna come across awfully gloomy in this for this podcast, but I do think an overall message to take is like, stop bullshitting yourselves.
Yeah.
This is hard. People do not succeed at the rate you think they do. That people are claiming that there's a lot of fooling of yourself. There's a lot of intoxication from trading. Like, get your head out of your ass, because you can do it, but you can't do it with your head up your ass. You can't do it. Very few people can do it being the person they were when they started trading. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're really self-actualized or close to it, congratulations. You'll probably be a great trader, but you got to get there.
Yeah.
And most people aren't that, because it's hard to be that. Life's hard. And
if you need help, sounds like you got people like Sean over at Sound Performance Psychology can help you out. So I highly recommend checking out that website. Listen to the episode that we did recently with Sean too.
There's more distinction there. And I want to say, I know we're closing here, but Sean, it's been like, again, refreshing talking to you, even though there is like I really appreciate it's not negative, it's honest, and I roll with that. And I think traders could hear more of that, of like, actually there's so much noise in trading, and what actually really matters here.
You talk about not lying to yourself when it comes to trading. Like, it starts with putting out material like this, I think, to show people what that looks like.
And you know what? Against the interest of my my business, just go see a therapist. Get therapy, or do fucking yoga, or start jogging. Like, do stuff that'll change your life on your own, and you don't have to pay someone like me. Like
sleep.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at what I do. Yeah, sleep. Exactly. But don't sleep. Don't get it twisted. Like, I mean, hell, I do these free consults. You can go to my website and sign up for a free consult. I mean, sometimes half the time in those, the person's like, well, I can do that, but it's a little expensive. I'm like, well, let's get you someone a regular therapist that can take your insurance, and I'll help you find someone locally. Like, I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're not going to have the specialization I do and all that shit. They're not one of the unicorns like me and like me and certain other people. Not to put myself in that category of him, but
you are in that category.
But maybe I would like to be. But start there. It doesn't have to be with someone like me. It can be just quality self-care. Getting therapy, dealing with your shit.
Awesome. That's a good note to leave it on.
Well said, man. All right. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to learn more, make sure you listen to that last episode we did with Sean. Visit his website, soundperformancepsychology.com. You can even email us any psychology questions you got for that upcoming roundtable we just teased out. Cool. Be sure to include all those links in the episode description. And Cleo and I will be back soon with another exciting episode. But until then, share this with your friends, like, subscribe, and have a great week not thinking about trading.
This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute financial or investment advice and should not be construed as such.
The hosts, guests, and contributors of this podcast are not licensed financial advisors, brokers, or professionals. Any trading or investment decisions made based on the content of this podcast are solely at the listener's discretion and risk. Trading and investing in financial markets carry inherent risks, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Listeners should conduct their own research and seek advice from qualified financial professionals before making any financial decisions. The views, opinions, and information shared in this podcast are those of the individual contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the podcast creators or associated organizations. Produced by China Shop Productions.